Disclaimer, we are filming from our busy studios in Birmingham city centre, and today the weather is doing up UK. It is whack. So you may hear it rain and it may get a little bit noisy, so just be patient with us throughout this episode. Welcome back to the Move with Purpose podcast, and today I'm so delighted to be joined by the fabulous Adam Brooks. Motivational speaker, host, business owner, speaker, creator and musician. Ads, I'm so grateful to have you join me today.
I'm glad to be here.
As we just dig into conversation about yourself, what's coming up, and hopefully leave some nuggets for our audience as well.
It's going to be a good one.
Can't wait. So, really interested actually, because you've impacted my life in many different ways.
Okay.
Some in which you probably don't know about, so I get to share that with you today, which is really cool.
Sounds good.
But I wanted to start with, I wanted to go all the way back, and I wanted to dig into the earliest memory within your childhood that gave you the foundations to be the man you are today.
That's a really good question. I think some of my earliest memories are becoming a big brother to my little brother, which I love my brother with my whole heart, my best friend in the world. So I remember that day he was born, crystal clear. But I also remember being a little bit younger and being very fascinated by things. So getting a toy, and rather than playing with it, like taking it apart, trying to look at how it worked and then putting it back together again. And I think that's probably a reflection of the way my mind works now. I like to analyse things and to learn how things work to make them work better. So I think my earliest memories really are being a big brother, which I relish the role wholeheartedly, but also being someone who really can think about things. And I'm quite a pragmatist, so I think about things. I try to observe and I try to work out what each bit does, whether it's in business now or in people's minds now, but then also kind of learn how to put it back together and know how to make it work more efficiently.
Right.
So that's that, and what's the other memories of being in church, because my parents are pastors. So I remember being in fact, my earliest memory is being in church. That's my earliest memory. I remember that crystal clear.
And what was that like for you?
So you can imagine church in those days was different to what it is today. Church, it seemed, from a 2-year-old perspective, church lasted about 14 hours. The service was forever, it felt like. And you couldn't dare get up and leave to go to the toilet. God forbid you need the toilet, you better hold it in. Because it's like you can watch TV all day and not go to the toilet, so what, there's that kind of, so there's that kind of mindset around that. It's obviously changed completely now, but it was fun because you got to meet loads of people, got to go to lots of different places, but church is probably one of the prevailing memories of my whole life. Right. Throughout my entire life, that's one of the only consistent things that's been, not one of the only things, but it's one of the consistent things in my life forever that I always think of, and that's all been part of me.
And did you enjoy it? Or did it feel like a chore because your parents were pastors?
I'll be honest, it didn't feel like a chore purely because it was always there.
Okay.
So it's effectively like having 10 siblings, right?
Yeah.
If I had 10 siblings now, suddenly, I'd be like, what am I going to do with all these people?
Yeah.
But if I was born with 10, it's like, this is how it is. This is normal. We have a van for a car. That's normal kind of thing. And for me, that church was just a part of my everyday life. We came from Stafford to Birmingham every week on a Sunday, on a Tuesday night, and on a Friday for prayer. And it was just normal. Doesn't everyone do this?
Yeah.
So I never questioned it.
So what was your upbringing like?
So I come from a Caribbean family. Both my parents were born in Jamaica. Dad came in when he was 15, mom came in when she was like 8.
Oh, wow.
So the Jamaican heritage thing is very rich in our family, although I would say I'm not overly Jamaican in my culture now. I love Jamaican food, I love the music, but I wouldn't say, like, if I go to Jamaica, they can tell I'm not from there. Put it that way. I don't count myself.
Out.
Yeah, I do. But so our family is very close-knit. My dad's vision for a family was always that his family would communicate well and that they'd be close to each other. And as a result of that, they did things in the home from a young age that made us be normally close and tight. Okay. So like I said, my brother's my best friend in the world by a million miles. In terms of my relationships, my brother and sister are the two closest people to me. Love that. And I find that it has helped me in a lot of ways because I didn't really have to deal with peer pressure too much because as long as my brother and sister were there, I didn't really care what other people thought of me. So that really helped me a lot. And we were taught at home to have board meetings at dinner time, right? So my dad would have us all sit on the dinner table. The TV was never on. We'd sit down and each of us would go on the table. What happened at school today? What did you learn? Was anything I need to know about? Because when I go to parents' evening, Adam, I don't want Mr. Johnson to tell me something that you haven't told me.
And embarrass me.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had those meetings, but also we talked about who did you see? Who did you communicate with? How did you feel when you heard about this? So we learned from a very young age how to communicate very well. My mom's a mental health nurse by trade. She did that for 30 odd years. Yeah. So communication and learning how to articulate your feelings has always been quite normal for us. it's not traditional in Caribbean families, but I think because of my mum's work background as well.
Yeah.
And my dad's experience growing up in Jamaica as the only child there with his nan, then coming here to 9 other siblings.
Wow.
When he's the oldest, and then suddenly like he's got all these siblings underneath him. Yeah. So I think he kind of had to learn how to manage people very, very early on.
Right.
So I think because of that, we've always had that kind of very open, emotional. There's no fear of sharing our emotions, no fear of exposing things that we may be embarrassed by, because they already know the worst about me anyway.
Right.
So in our family, there's never been like a shame culture of, I can't tell my parents that my marriage is breaking down. I told my parents when it broke down.
So like a very transparent family dynamic.
Very transparent, yeah.
Nice. And in terms of you finding faith, just because you went to church from a young age doesn't necessarily mean that was your
100%.
moment of finding God. When would you say that was?
I think there's been a couple of occasions. When I was 7, I remember getting baptized purely out of the fear of dying in my sleep and going to hell.
Okay.
I don't know where I heard this from or who told me this, but I was like, I don't want to go to hell. And I just thought I thought I was going to go to sleep and never wake up. So I got baptized out of fear then. And I think had I understood what baptism was, I wouldn't have done it then. Definitely wouldn't have. Just because it's like getting married at 7.
Yeah.
Like choosing your wife at 7. You don't even know what you like then. So I hadn't done anything wrong at that point in my life. I kissed a girl at school, so maybe I had done some. But no, I didn't, mum and dad. I didn't kiss a girl at school. My bad. Sorry. No, but like literally, I didn't understand what the choice was to choose a relationship with God.
Okay.
I didn't know Him for myself at that point. It was just like to do this Christian thing, you need to get baptized. So I think when my eyes were really opened, first in my late teens, but I did everything that I was supposed to do, but the relationship wasn't there.
Right.
And then I think more so in my 20s, as I got to know about like loss, losing people in your life, things not going the way you expect them to go, and then learn to pray and talk to God for myself outside of on a Sunday at church reading the Bible and praying, but actually sitting down at home and waking up and thinking, look, actually I need to talk to God today, and walking to the train station and praying on the way. That happened in my early 20s, I think.
Okay.
But I think the pivotal moment came when I was about 30, when it's really interesting. I was driving my car home and my car caught fire and blew up just while I was driving.
No way.
So I was driving the car home and a guy who was driving around the corner, he looked at my car and he's on the other side of the road, said, "Oh, your car's on fire. I'm like, you what? Because I couldn't see anything, no smoke, nothing. So I carried on driving, and then literally, and I can't even, I don't wish I was making it up, but I wish I had proof to show you this, right? But out of the car speakers, the voice came out of the car speaker saying, "Adam, pull over the car." I was listening to, this is how deep it was, I remember the moment like it was yesterday. I was listening to Talk Sport Radio. Aston Villa were playing Crystal Palace on the day. I remember, like, I didn't support Villa, but I had it on, and Villa were winning 2-1. It was coming through the radio. I got past the traffic lights, and he's like, "Adam, pull over the car. Adam, pull over the car." I'm thinking, what's going on? So I pulled over the car, I got out, got around the back of the car, just like that, within like 2 seconds. My phone was in the car, all my gear was in the car, loads of stuff was in the car. I had Christmas presents in the car. It was the December the 14th, and we had a party the same night. So I had some presents in the car.
What's going through your mind?
I couldn't believe it. I went into shock. And then I tried to get my phone out of the car, and the door was completely sealed shut. It was a coupe, BMW 3 Series. And the top of the frame of the door had no metal, it was pure glass. So the glass was sticking up into the roof of the car, so it just wouldn't open the door. The fire guys came, and they pulled open the door with like the cutting materials, and the door still, the outside panel came off, but the door still stayed in place.
Wow.
He said I would never got out of the car if I hadn't got out when I got out, because the central locking system locked the whole car up.
Damn.
Would never got out. So the car burnt to smithereens, nothing left. And I'm standing by the side of the road, and my life didn't flash before my eyes. It wasn't like that. But what I did think was, how close was I to not being here right now?
Wow.
So it made me open my mind.
And you know that voice was God.
Adam, pull over the car. Adam, pull over the car. It was like it's in 3D Dolby Atmos. It was that clear. And I'm thinking, that's the first time I ever heard God's voice. So I was like, I was in shock. But then I genuinely, a funny moment was where I pulled over the car. I was across the road from an off license. So I ran into there, bought like 4 bottles of Evian water, trying to pour it on my car to put the fire out.
Yeah.
I just got my alloys done. It was,
I bet you was trying to save. Oh secretly.
My gosh. So anyway. So the aftermath of that was recognizing that if I'm still here after a moment like that, there must be a purpose for my life.
100%.
There must be something that I'm here to do that meant that I couldn't go in that moment.
Yeah.
Why did God call my voice, call my name and say, "Adam, get out of the car"?
In that moment.
Yeah. So that really led me to the purpose quest, the desire to find out what is the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. Because at that point, work-wise, I was doing just my normal job.
Right.
But I wasn't living up to my purpose. I wasn't living up to my potential.
Okay. And could you feel that?
Yeah, but I was married at the time.
Right.
I had my stepdaughter was doing good in school. Everything was ticking all the boxes and everything, right? But I genuinely knew there was more in me. But because I hadn't felt the impetus or the pressure to do anything, I was settled in mediocrity. Right. I was settled there. And to be honest with you, most people end up kind of in that place,
100%.
I recognise now that we kind of set targets based on our comparison to our friends, our peer group. And they say if you show you your friends, I show you who you are. If you hang around with people and you're all on a similar level, you all just do the same thing. You're okay, but you won't progress much. It's only when you elevate yourself in groups of people who are doing better things. That's so like me talking to you, one of the 30 under 30. Like my status would naturally have to increase if I spend more time with you.
100%.
My potential and my belief in myself and also what I want to do will increase because I've seen you do more.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a moment that really changed my life, recognizing there's got to be more to me than just this. I'm not just this, there's way more for me out there.
So what do you do after that? So you have this moment, you have this idea that, I'm living below my purpose. What are your next steps?
So here's the interesting thing that humans do, right? So I had what I call a blue light moment, and I'll explain it. Blue light moment is if you're driving, I've never done this in my life, and I know you haven't, right? But you're driving your car, and you get a text, you just pick up to have a quick look, and then you hear the police behind you, like, ah! You throw your phone, and you shook for a minute, like, you're like, driving the car like this.
Hope they didn't see me.
Right, and they drive past you, and oh, thank God, you pick up the phone again. So in that moment of it happening, you're like, you're doing the wrong thing, and you've got to change something, otherwise you're going to get in trouble. But once the moment's passed, the alertness of the situation has passed you, you settle back into your routines. As humans, that's our natural thing to do, and we settle into patterns of behaviour, into routines, and we just do what we've always done. And so after about 3 months of being, man, from now on I'm going to live on purpose, after 3 months, I regressed again to mediocre Adam.
Right.
And I think I've done it a few times. I'll tell you more when we get to it, but like it only kind of sticks when you make a decision followed by action.
Right.
It doesn't make a difference if you think I need to do more. Thinking doesn't do anything.
It's the action.
You actually have to set in motion a set of actions that force you to do better. So in that moment, I didn't have a plan. I just thought, I've got to do better than this, man. I can do better than this. And for 3 months, I did. I remember. And I got to the next year, February, March kind of time. My birthday came and I was back to just normal again.
So at what point does the action kick in? Is it another pivotal moment, or is it a look in the mirror moment and it's, I've kind of faded back to where I was and I know I need to be doing better?
That's a really good question. Okay, it's both things, but for two different reasons. In 2017, I got stabbed. So obviously, the story. I was in church. A guy came in to attack somebody, and I intervened, and he stabbed me in my neck and my hand. So I almost died on the spot in my church. And I remember, this is so crystal clear to me. September the 10th, 2017. I'm lying on the floor in the church. Someone's got a headscarf wrapped around my neck to compress it because they had nothing, right? And they're trying to save my life. And I'm lying there thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die in church. Oh my God, I'm going to die. And the prevailing thought in my mind at that point wasn't like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. All I thought was, I'm grateful, because I have lived a good life. I've got a great family. My mom and dad are just phenomenal. My parents, even though my marriage didn't work out, I had a way better time than most people do. So, a lot of people don't even get as far as I got. So I was very grateful. But then I also had the thought of, I had a few thoughts. That was one of them. The other thought was, as I was lying there, they were examining me for other stab wounds, right? So they're cutting my jeans off me, and I'm thinking, God, did I cream my legs? Because I don't remember if I did that morning. I couldn't remember.
And that's genuinely what you're thinking?
I swear to God. I was God's my witness. I'm lying, it's in church, and that morning, I remember I rushed to church, I was wearing my black and white check shirt, black jeans, and my black shoes, right? And I thought, did I cream my legs? I was half saying, just let me die.
Oh, gosh.
Don't let me see, because everyone was still in the room. Just crowding around me.
And there's a crowd, 100%.
Like, everyone was seeing my boxer shorts with dry white legs. Oh, my God. Fortunately, my legs were creamed. Maybe just through the sweat, but they were creamed anyway. But that's why I was thinking, there's two things. That was my family. The second thing was, did I cream my legs? The third thing was, if I make it out of the situation alive, I will never, ever take a moment in my life for granted again.
Wow.
Because I wasn't in a club where people were fighting. I wasn't on the street at middle of the night. I was in church on a Sunday morning at 10:45. A guy walked in with a knife and decided to stab someone and got me.
Wow.
So it showed me that it doesn't really matter where you are and what you're doing. Life can strike you anytime. Death can strike you anytime.
Absolutely.
And we take life for granted, but we only have the heartbeat that's beating now and the breath I have in front of me. Every single breath that I have after that one is a bonus.
Yes.
Because there's nothing guaranteeing it, and because we see people live to 80 and 90, no guarantee I'm going to get that. We've all seen people to go to bed and not wake up in their 20s. I went to a funeral for a 9-year-old boy who went to bed and didn't wake up. So if that's the case, then for me, the the feeling I felt in that moment was, if I get out of this situation alive, I will never take my life for granted again. I'll never take people for granted again. And I'll never take the opportunity of a lifetime for granted again. Because something I always say is we waste the opportunity of a lifetime waiting for the opportunity of a lifetime. Like we're waiting for something to happen. And you're living it right now.
Yeah.
So when you ask me about looking in the mirror, for me, every day I look in the mirror and I see my scars. It's like, remember, Adam, this is another day that you weren't going to have. So as much as things aren't going right, so what? You didn't get the job you wanted to go for. So what? The relationship didn't work out. So what? That you didn't have this happen the way you wanted to happen. You have got another chance.
For sure.
And so that's my guiding principle in my head now every day. Whatever goes wrong, this is borrowed time that I'm on. So you know what?
Make the most of it.
Make the most of it, yeah.
When you look back at that moment, Ad, do you feel like God chose you instead of the person that the guy was coming for?
So I can only say, because everyone was like, oh, you're a hero. You ran into... It wasn't a hero thing, you know. I swear it wasn't. What it was I saw the guy running towards where my mum was.
Right.
So I just...
Immediate
It was fight or flight. It wasn't my thought process, right, I'm a strong, brave guy.
For sure.
Because I'm pretty sure if he had gone in another direction, I don't know if I'd have done the same. I don't know.
Right.
But because he went to my mum, I'm never going to let anything happen to my mum, right?
Absolutely.
So in that moment, I recognised I guess it's your genes kicking, or the DNA you have kicks in. I wasn't thinking, I just acted. So I think God chose it to happen to me because he knew that the impact it would have on my life, it wouldn't break me.
Right.
And he knew that it would actually benefit me. And I think sometimes we'll go into situations where we talk about in the Bible where we pray for God to get us through a situation. I remember in Peter was talking to Jesus and said, Jesus said that the devil was trying to sift him like wheat. And Jesus said to Peter, I will pray that your faith doesn't fail. And my take on that is, well, hang on a minute. You're Jesus. Just don't let me be sifted.
Yeah.
Why are we letting things happen to me? But then we look at examples of like Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. And Jesus didn't stop the things, or God didn't stop things from happening to them. But what did he do? He was with them in the fire.
Amen.
He was in the den with Daniel.
Yeah.
So it's not God helping us to escape from anything. It's him being with us in the moment. So I think in that moment for me, it's like I recognised that he chose to be with me in that moment. I didn't feel panicky when I thought I was dying.
Yeah.
I literally felt myself fading away, but I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel
Were you just
anxious.
still?
I was literally lying. It's funny because I was lying there with a headscarf around my neck and people all cried around me with my trousers off.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh my God. But I was literally, had the phone next to my ear as well. They had the ambulance service talking to me saying, Adam, stay with me, talk to me. What are you doing this weekend? What are you doing next week? Trying to get me to stay conscious. And I was just calm. I think the whole thing was calm to me. Wow. I didn't feel no panic. So I think he did choose me because he knew how it would affect my life and knew it would do me good. And there's another interesting part to that story, which is I always had a dream of being someone who did motivation. I've always had this thing of motivating people and inspiring them. But I never felt qualified to do it because I'd never had any hardship in my life. I had a 2-parent home. My parents looked after us.
Brilliant
I didn't struggle for food. I didn't struggle for normal things. So it's like, well, Adam, how can you tell me to get my life in order and sort myself out if you know how to do it for yourself?
Right.
So I never pushed myself in that arena purely because I didn't feel qualified, and I thought people questioned my integrity of how dare you tell me when you've never been through anything. So God's like, okay, Adam, do you really, really need something to make your story sound authentic? Okay, here you go then.
Wow.
So I don't think God did that, but the impact was, now when I speak from a place of authority because I've got the experience of almost losing my life and having to rehabilitate myself mentally and physically afterwards.
So I love that you're so open about suicidal thoughts, Ad. I really can resonate with that. I remember when I'd recently given birth to my daughter. She was about 4 months. And I just felt a different feeling I hadn't felt before. And I didn't recognise it at first. So I kind of just, you just carry on with life and you carry on with the paces of what's happening. And then I remember one day being so low, it was worrying. I remember saying to my husband, I'm really low. And I don't know what to do with this feeling. And if I leave it, I'm frightened of where it can go. Yeah. So immediately he was like, right, let's call on the village. And there's a few people I have in my circle that were able to assist. But it's the transparency of knowing when to ask for help. When did you know to ask for help?
I think I know myself very well. Like, I love life. I love my family. I would never, ever want to do anything to help my family. Yeah. So me wanting to even consider taking my own life was anti-me, who I am. Yeah. And if, like you said, you felt low, like it's a chemical imbalance as well, right? So not hormones, but my brain wasn't in the same place I normally was in. And I felt it, I could feel. And as you know that film, what's it called? Get Out. Yeah. And then he falls in. I felt like I was sinking into the floor.
Wow.
And I realized that how can I be feeling something I can see? Like I can see it happening, I can feel it. But I'm not doing nothing. I'm not taking drugs. I'm not drinking alcohol. So because of the openness, and I go as far to say, when I was a kid, my mum being a mental health nurse, we actually go and visit her at work,
Right.
And we spend time on the ward with people.
No way.
So talking about mental health was a normal thing for us, a really normal thing. So when I felt like that, I said, I know this isn't my thoughts. I know this isn't my feelings. I know it's not my desire. So I need to talk to somebody who understands these things. So straight away I was like, Mum, I remember going downstairs because I moved back to my parents' house after the stabbing. Moved back to the house and I was in my bedroom. I came downstairs to the kitchen. I said, Mum, I feel like I want to kill myself. I think I said it. I said, I feel like I'm sinking deeper and deeper into the floor. It's making me want to do something to hurt myself.
What's her reaction?
Very calm.
Right.
She's like, "What? Tell me how you feeling." I says, "I feel like literally the whole world is like black and I'm falling into a hole."
Yeah. And
she said, "Okay, what are you taking? What are your medication? Let's get them out and have a look at them." That's the first thing she thought, because she knows me as well.
Yeah.
And we looked at, and one of them was a yellow pill. I can't remember what it's called now, but she said, this one, it says the side effect is depression. One of the side effects is depression. So let's stay off that for the rest of this week and see how you feel. Okay. If you still feel funny after that, we'll go into more detail what we can do next. So after that 3 days, the feeling left me completely. Yeah. I don't know what that drug was supposed to do, but I never took it again. So maybe that's why I've got the problems I have now, but it's worth being alive.
But what a beautiful moment that her initial response is calm.
Yeah.
Because so many moms would immediately panic at that and just be like, but the fact that you felt safe and she gave the environment for you to feel that is so empowering.
Well, even in the moment, so as I got stabbed in church, right? So loads of people were there, but the people that stood out to me in that moment, through my vision, I couldn't see properly, but what I could see my mum, and she was calm. Right. My sister, and she was calm. They were both calm. Normally, my sister cries for everything. She didn't cry, because I think they realised how serious it was. They were just calm, and that made me feel calm.
For sure.
And it's funny, when I had a panic attack, it wasn't after I got stabbed. It was when I got to hospital and the police showed me because I hadn't seen my wounds. When they took a picture and showed it to me, I was like, oh, because it was that bad. My whole neck was open, all my veins were out, everything was out, blood all over the place. But because I hadn't seen it. Yeah. But so when I saw it, so having seen them see that on me and not panic, if I had, I probably would have died, because I would have gone into shock or whatever. But I managed to survive because of their calmness. And I think an enduring theme through my family has been that sense of having the space to communicate how I feel. Whether or not they're going to always understand what I'm saying, they give me the space to speak, and they've always given me the opportunity to air my feelings. And then because they know me so well, Adam, you know that you're not like that, or Adam, and they can help me to be reflective in that moment.
Yeah, that's such an amazing family principle to have, and something that I'm leaning to take from my family home as well. So thank you for sharing. You mentioned about your marriage breaking down, and you were able to go to your parents about that. Tell me about that moment.
Yeah, well, there's two moments. One is the first time I went to them, they're like, Adam, give it another 6 months before you decide to do it. I was ready to go at that point. Really? I was like, I can't take this, man. Yeah. And that was my selfish immaturity. Right. Because marriage is a commitment for life. And so I don't advocate for divorce. I don't advocate that you should end the marriage, but I advocate for proper preparation for marriage. Right. So not just getting married because you fall in love, not getting married because you fancy somebody, not getting married because you're in church and you don't want to break the rules of having sex before you get married. Get married because you found somebody who, even on their worst day, you want them to be around. Even on your worst day, they want you to be around. And it's not all about love. It's about actually having a shared sense of purpose, having grace for each other, and having a desire to love the person in the way they need to be loved, and to learn the way they need to be loved too. So talking to my parents about it, they said, no, Adam, I'd only been married for 4 years at the time, I think. Okay. And they were like, no, you need to give it some more time, have some counselling, So I said, out of respect for my parents, I was like, yeah, cool, I'll do that. And I did genuinely try. We did genuinely try. But when it came to the moment afterwards, I think they could see how unhappy we both were. Right. It wasn't like a cheating thing. It was no unhandly behaviour going on. But it was just a clash of our, not just personalities, but what we wanted from life. Right. And a clash between the way that I operate in my family and maybe the way that her family was different. And we just couldn't get into sync. Right.
So was that throughout the whole period, or issues that just emerged?
I think, if I'm totally honest, there are things I'd seen before that I decided I thought would be cured by the security of marriage. Right. So when there was maybe I won't say red flag, but things that were, that's not right, I don't like that. Yeah. But I was like, at the same time, if I'm married to her, she's not going to be worrying about those kind of things anymore. So it's okay. But I think if you have any issues undealt with, they only become bigger in marriage.
Absolutely.
Anything you don't deal with before you get married will just become a monster in the marriage later on. So like one of the messages I give to the young men I speak to now about marriage is like anything you see that you're unhappy with, bring it up and talk about it. Don't attack the person. But try to understand where it comes from. Try to get an understanding of how you can help the person to heal from that. Or even if you have to, hold off on a relationship till they've gone through the process of healing themselves.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of us go into marriages and relationships carrying lots of baggage and hurt. And then what happens is I bring that into the marriage, you bring yours into the marriage. And before we can get to each other, all these bags are in the way. I'm mashed, you're mashed. It's like, how's I love you if I can't love myself? How can you look? So therapy and counselling before marriage is so important. Individually and collectively. But I can't advocate for therapy enough. You have to do that for yourself to make sure you're not taking things into marriage. Like, we all have things. The way my mum and dad lived their life has influenced me in the way I live my life. That's never going to change, right? But I can also learn to understand that someone else's worldview is different to mine and I can't enforce it on them too. So we learn to come to an understanding. I think that's the bigger thing, learning to come to an understanding with each other, learning how to love each other and learn how to be there for each other, even when it's like, she's a nutter, she's a donut, what's she talking about? But not just judging them, but being the person they need in that moment to be a safe space for them.
Do you know what's really interesting? You mentored my husband when we were just dating, and you were so pivotal in his life. And I remember we went on a date once and he was like, I feel like we need to do like premarital counseling. At the time I was just like, we're not even thinking about marriage, like we're just trying to just be out here figuring each other out. But he'd had this vision of where he wanted our relationship to go. So he was like, I think we should think about it. And I was like, okay, cool. He was like, are you open to doing like a therapy session? Ads has recommended it. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's just try it. So I go to this therapy session thinking it's going to be all about how he's doing things wrong. And as I get to this session, and I'm sure it's at your church as well, and the session ends up revealing how I need to go into personal therapy before our relationship can move any further. And it was such a slap in the face. Because sometimes we look at our setups and we're like, everything is wrong with the other person. You need to fix that, you need to fix that. And the lady was just like, Romanah, I'm recommending you go into one-to-one therapy. Omar's good for now. Omar's good for now. I need to talk to Ads on Bex. But that was such a pivotal moment in our relationship that I have to thank you for. We were like, 18 in therapy? But people should be in therapy from early. It's so important.
I'll go as far to say is if you're going to date somebody, ask them to have therapy first. Because I think, especially as you get older, we've all experienced things, and it can be inconsequential things like just growing up in a house where you're a single child and there's no other kids around. But it just creates something in you that you just need to look and think, how will I cope with being in a house where somebody else's desires and needs are equal to mine? Because having a little brother, I shared a bedroom with him, right, all until 16. So I'm used to sharing a room and a space and having things that would just, if I use the cream, he used the cream too, and the head will shake there somewhere else, whatever. I'm used to that. But if I grew up as an only child and suddenly someone's come into my space and moved the thing from there to there, what are you doing? That's not how it's, like, one mad little thing from when I got married, right? My wife didn't want to have a bin in the bedroom because she thought bin shouldn't be in the bedroom. I was like, that don't make any sense. But her answer to that was to put a plastic bag on the door handle to put stuff into. So I'm like, this is a bin, but just hanging from the door handle. So why not just have a bin that you can have a lid over so you can put something in there and you can't see it.
For sure.
Versus having a plastic bag. I'm thinking, I don't understand. This is ridiculous. What's wrong with you? And it's such a trivial small thing. But every time I open the door and the thing will swing against the back of the door, you stupid. What is wrong with you? So, and it's, as much as it sounds trivial, it's still like, that bag was like, I hated it.
still to this day.
To this moment, if I see a plastic bag hanging anywhere, like, give it a kick. But on all seriousness, like, it sounds simple, innit? But in marriage, the simplest thing,
the littlest things are a trigger, right?
It is. So premarital counselling. So we did a program called premarital counselling with a pastor from London, but then we also did the engaged encounter, which we go away with the Church of England, and you do like a weekend course where you talk to other married couples and you learn about, and that was really, really good. But I think where I went wrong in that, I can just speak for myself, is I still didn't address some of the things I saw as things that are problematic, because I didn't want to hurt her. For one, I thought we can just wait till we get married and it'll be okay. But I also didn't want to bring it up in that environment and maybe embarrass her or whatever like that. So I felt like I still held back. And I'd say, like, for now, I'd advocate for you just going and being wholeheartedly honest. Because even then, once it's out, it's out.
Put everything on the table.
Put it on the table. The good stuff and the bad stuff. And like, you can't stop counselling or therapy too early. And I from the day I started having counselling when we were separating and that kind of stuff, I still have therapy to this day. So you're looking at since 2016 till now.
Wow.
And I've seen her every stage of my life since then, where I've had the stabbing sword for that, marriage breaking down, anything that's happened in my life, even like the loss of my sister's, that she lost some babies and stuff, that kind of stuff. I've talked to her about that because I'm like, I can't understand this, I can't get my head around it.
For sure.
She helps me to understand it. Even going as far as me and my dad have a great relationship now, but I grew up thinking about how my dad treated me, made me thinking he didn't love me.
Right.
He loved me, right? But his way of showing,
strict?
Very strict.
Right.
And as a Caribbean Jamaican parent, the way to show discipline was physical.
Yeah.
So you get the belts and that kind of stuff, which we all understand. They wouldn't do it now. They'd never hit my niece and nephew, their grandchildren. But they know now, but they didn't know what it was us. So in that, I kind of felt like my dad didn't love me.
Right.
So that then projected into different things happening as I got older, where I was trying to find ways to validate myself through other people, where I didn't have my dad's validation in my mind. He did do it, but not in the way that I needed at the time.
Right.
So my love language, for example, is words of affirmation.
Did he miss that?
He did. So on my wedding day, my dad said to me, from the pulpit in the church, he said, Adam, I'm so proud of you. You're my son, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
That broke me. I was
Really?
not the wedding ceremony, not my wife, nothing. My dad said he was proud of me on that day. Because him saying it to me, I know he's probably said it to me before, but it felt different on that day.
Yeah.
And it almost broke something inside my chest, like my chest opened up.
Had you ever heard him say that before?
He must have.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't withhold love. He's not that kind of person, but he also wasn't massive on words like, Adam, I love you. I'll give you a perfect example. This is so cheesy, and I can't believe I'm saying this, right? There's a film called The Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds in.
Yeah.
Came on Netflix. And I watched it with my next door neighbour. We were watching the film. And in the film, Ryan Reynolds' character goes back to being a kid. Goes back in time and meets himself as a child. And he sees his dad who's died.
Right.
So the plot, I'm missing the plot. But anyway, sees his dad who's already died. And it's his first time seeing him for like 20 odd years. And his dad talks to him as an adult, says, Adam, I'm so proud of you. I love you. You're my son. You're amazing. You're the best thing I ever did in my whole life. I'm bawling like he's talking to me.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a minute. Because he said, Adam, I love you. I'm proud of you. I was like, obviously there's part of me that needs to hear those words, even though it wasn't from my dad at that moment. It was like, wow, okay, there's something in me that still needs that affirmation.
Wow.
So while my dad has affirmed me in my adult life and he's told me he loves me and I don't doubt that, I think there's gaps in my childhood where even though he may have said it to me,
you needed it more.
I needed it more. I didn't get it. And it's not, he didn't have his dad around until he was 16. So he never got a father to show him how to do it. He learned fatherhood on the job.
Wow.
So then the other side was therapy taught me to give him grace for giving me what he had.
Is it a forgiveness element as well, do you think?
She said to me, my therapist said, like, you need to tell your dad, so picture your dad in the room right now and just tell him how you felt. And I told him how I felt, and he wasn't there, but I told him how I felt. I spoke it all out. I cried my eyes out, and I literally felt the weight lift off my shoulders.
Wow.
And it healed me in that moment, because what had happened before this was that if me and my dad had an argument about something, I was arguing from all those places of disappointment and upset.
Yeah.
So
From
I'm like,
years ago.
nah, man, dad.
Yeah.
I wasn't even always respectful, which is not like me. I'd actually sometimes raise my voice and stuff like that. Talking to my dad, I'm like, this isn't me. But I recognised it wasn't coming from that moment. It was years of moments of disappointment or feeling unloved, or the beatings, or feeling like I was being unfairly treated.
So what would you say your main love languages are?
I think I major on 2. I absolutely think I have extra languages. Like I love food. So if someone cooks me food, I'm like put it in their hands. I really am. But in terms of the 5, there's words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, acts of service, and quality time. Yeah. So my 2 major ones are words of affirmation and physical touch. Okay. So when someone tells me I've done something good, it's like I'm inflated. I'm like, yeah. You know, when they tell me I've done something bad, I'm deflated. Right. But also with the physical touch, it's not necessarily a sexual thing. It's like my mum calls me or give me a hug. It's like, just feel safe, innit?
Feel safe, right? Yeah.
So obviously when you're married or you're in a relationship with someone, that person can offer you that. Yeah. But like, it's not just it's literally just someone touching you with love, you know? And it's funny, they say if you don't have that in your life, you tend to shower longer because the warmth of the shower makes you feel like you've been hugged by somebody. So I was like, how long am I in the shower for? I'm in the shower generally for about 20 minutes. Really? So you can tell I'm quite lonely at the moment, innit? But no, it's all good. But I definitely think words of affirmation and physical touch.
In terms of dating, ads. What does that look like in this current climate for you? Are you online? Are you seeing anyone?
No. So I did try at one point to jump onto the app world.
Yeah. How did that go?
Varying results.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you how my feeling on it, right?
Okay.
I'm a people person, sorry.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I'm in a room with people,
yeah,
this can sound so arrogant, right? But I hope it comes across in the right way. I feel like when I meet people, I make such a better impression in person,
right,
than I do trying to type something interesting in a message. So you go onto Hinge or Soul's or Tinder. I've never been on Tinder, just to clarify. But go on like Hinge or whatever the apps are now. It's like, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Or I like that photograph. Tell me more. Like you have
to meet them.
Yeah, so I get a natural reaction in person better. So
okay.
I feel like if I was to meet somebody, if I was going to start dating somebody now, I think it would be someone I met in person. I'm not on any apps. I don't think I will be ever again. Not because it didn't work for some people, because for some people the barrier is protective.
Right.
So as a woman, the barrier creates a layer of protection for you. Okay. As a man, I feel like I'm not really in any place to be threatened.
Right.
So I don't really need to be protected. So meeting somebody in real life and saying, hi, I'm Adam, nice to meet you.
Just works better.
It works better. So if I was looking to date somebody now, I don't think it would go on an app. It wouldn't work.
Would you marry again?
100%.
What would you do differently this time?
Well, I think now I know who I am.
Right.
I know my purpose and I know the things that are important to me. So when I got married at 27, the impetus behind the decision was twofold. It's like I wanted to do the right thing. Yeah. I wanted to take another level in my life up. So I already had a job. I was working. Everything was going well. But the next step up to manhood was wife. Yeah. And my wife had a daughter already. Right. So it meant that I became a husband and a father in like one day. Yeah. So I'm a big man now. Don't chat to me. So I thought that was validation for me. And if you think back to me thinking about being validated by my dad or not being validated, that was that whole package in one. Right. Doing it for me. So I kind of looked at it in that way at the time. Versus actually thinking, well, actually the price of marriage though is, as a man, you are meant to be a provider, you're meant to have a vision, you're meant to be able to be a safe place for your wife and family. Yeah. Ultimately, the book stops with you as the husband. Even in the modern society we live in, there is equality in relationships, you are meant to be a partnership. But ultimately, if the debt collector comes to the door, it's my responsibility to sort it out. Yeah. If there's bill needs to pay, it's my responsibility. So I think when I got married, I didn't necessarily understand the responsibility. Okay. And I definitely didn't have a clear vision for my life or for my family's life, for my wife to buy into, for her to then to feel safe and secure. So some of the things I talked about before where I said there was issues we had, one of the things was that she didn't always open up to me about things. Okay. But then I have to recognize that I didn't provide a safe space for her to do that. So right. I wasn't unsafe, but it wasn't safe. I didn't know what I was doing. So
do you think you rushed? Did you rush it?
Well, so when I started dating her, like my parents said to me, because you got a child and because you come to the church we go to, you have to be quite certain that you want to do this. Right. So you got a window of time to do it before you have to decide or not decide or cut it off. So give it 8-9 months of us talking, going out, and that kind of thing. I sort of said you need to decide. Really? And I got very attached to Maya, my daughter. I got very attached to her. And there was nothing really wrong. There was a few red flags, but everyone has things wrong, don't they? So
for sure.
I didn't see them as big issues. And then I think I said this to my friend the other day, one of the things I think we got wrong though with the counselling was because everyone saw me as somebody who must know what he's doing, because I'm a pastor's kid and that kind of stuff, they didn't really question my decision. Right. So even the counselling, it was like, it wasn't stop, what other things that mean you shouldn't get married yet? It was like, we know you're ready. Just kind of go through it. And it wasn't really...
Is it the perception that you come from a great home that, you've
and
got everything needed? I've seen it all done before.
Parents have been married for 43 years. My parents have written books on marriage. They've done TV shows. They've been all over the world teaching about marriage. Yeah. So surely I must know all of it. So this is just us guiding you through the process to get where you want to get to. Not challenging you to see if you're ready. I don't blame anybody but myself. But I'm just saying in terms of, it was too quick. I wasn't ready. And as a result, I wasn't the best husband I could be. Right. I don't think I gave my wife the capacity to be the greatest wife she could be to me either. She could have done better too. I'm not throwing myself under the bus completely, but I know if I do the right things as the man in the relationship, normally the rest of the relationship will come into line with that. So I hold the responsibility in that area, and I definitely recognise that if I was better, my marriage would have probably been a lot better. And I don't know if it wouldn't have ended, but it definitely wouldn't have ended when it did.
Right. There's an element of church pressure in what you're saying. And I wonder if you recognise how much church plays a part in the pressure we feel to make certain decisions quicker than we potentially would have if we didn't have that.
Yeah.
I think of a time when I decided to go celibate, and I grew up in church, but my Omar didn't. So he was like, celibacy, what's that? Yo,
I talked to him about that. I did speak to him about it.
But for me, it was the best decision at the right time, not for him, but just for myself. But I remember when we got engaged, we went on holiday, and my family are church people. So they were like, you going on holiday? Like, are you in 2 different bedrooms? No. Have I got the money for 2 different rooms? Like, we're going on holiday and this is what it is. But they had this conception of, if you go on holiday, you're going to fornicate.
Yeah.
And that was all they knew. Like, if you live together, you're going to fornicate if you sleep over at his house. But that wasn't the case. But the church pressure I felt was almost overwhelming. That probably would have caused me to make a wrong decision. Did you ever feel church pressure?
Yeah, I mean, pastor's kid as well. So it elevates things a little bit, because what I do is then perceived as the rule for everyone else. So I don't have an issue with a couple who are celibate going on holiday together. Yeah. I think you can... the reality is, if I'm going to sleep with you... I'm going to do it here. I'm going to do it here. I ain't going to wait to go on. Look,
for sure.
No one's going to know if I'm doing it. So what's the point of going away on holiday to go and do it on a beach or something? I can do it in my yard. Yeah. So you can't police people, but part of the culture of church has been to protect people, right? Yeah. And it hasn't always done it in the best way possible. But if you think about my parents' generation, they were told they can't go to cinema because that's where people go to do crazy things. Wow. Can't go to nightclubs, can't go to a pub for a drink. To some extremes, they were told, not my parents, but other people from church were told, you can't have TVs. Yeah. There's no need to have a pension or life insurance because God's going to come back soon anyway. They're told all these kind of things, right? Yeah. And more time, don't listen to secular music, don't do these things to protect you from the badness, right? But there's no nuances to it. There's no like, actually, well, you have to live in this world. So you may actually go into Tesco and hear secular music, and guess what? You haven't got to run out. For sure. You can just exist in that world for the time you're there. So the church's perspective, trying to protect you, doesn't always work without explanation, without understanding. You telling the child, don't touch the fire, doesn't hit until they feel the fire or until they understand what the heat will do to them. So you have to explain, and I don't think church does that very well. In terms of what you just asked me about, though, definitely I've always felt pressure. So even at 16, I wanted to get an earring. Yeah. Just a simple earring. But I was like, no, you can't do it because it's against, I don't think you should do it. You're the pastor's son, So I didn't do it, right?
I was going to say, did you get it anyway?
No earring.
No.
I don't want it now, obviously, but at that point. But then what I did do, I got a magnetic earring. Right. Put it on. I walked to church one time. He didn't let my dad see that. And then one boy was like, oh, Mum, can I have an earring like Adam? Yeah. And I realised the influence I have is great. Right. Because a little 7-year-old boy, Lamar, he went to ask his mum, because what I was doing, so I took off straight away. I realised, oh, okay. I have to recognise, I'm an influence. So even me, like, I wouldn't judge anyone going on holiday or even moving in. Say you're getting married and you bought a house, and so you move in together before you get married just to save costs. Yeah. Like I said, if you're going to sleep together, that's not going to be the reason why you do it. If you're open to it anyway, it'll happen. If you're not open to it, you could be in the same bed, nothing's going to happen. Yeah. But I just think for me, because of who I am, I like to be transparent. Yeah. So when people come to me for for advice, like a young couple, people always ask me for advice. I want to tell them what I'm doing, not tell them what they should do. Yeah. So I share with them, like, look, I wouldn't sleep over at his house if you don't have control over your sexual desire. Yeah. If you know I can't see this girl in a pajama bottom without getting excited, you can't stay with her. Just allow it. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So you have to know yourself. You have to use wisdom. The Bible says you should flee when sin is, flee from sin, flee from lust. So if you feel like something's dragging you into that kind of situation, don't go near it. And I always advise people that, but also you have to know yourself. Yeah.
Boundaries.
So, set boundaries, healthy boundaries.
What's your views on celibacy? Do you practice it or?
Yeah, so like before I got married, so I got married at 27. Yeah. My wife was the first person I slept with. Wow. So
that's so commendable.
Listen, man, it was a long 27 years. I'm telling you.
very long. So.
I lived a long lifetime in that time. Trust me. There are many generations stored up inside of me.
But so many men don't do that.
But you know what it was?
And don't have the desire to.
So, say like a 16, right? I remember we were taught some stuff at church about what sex does to you. So I was frightened by that, about having sex anyway. Right. So then when it got to the point of being like 18, 19, 20, opportunity had presented itself so many times and I said no. Right. I'm doing it. It's not happening. So the older I got, it's like I kind of just turned down all those opportunities.
For no reason.
So I'm going to wait now Otherwise, just all those girls that had been like on it, and I was like, nah, I may as well go back in time and do it.
Yeah.
So obviously, I didn't want to do that because that wasn't right. But at the same time, I just thought, yeah, it's worth the wait, and it's worth. Like I know myself. I know that if I started to do it at that point, I'd been a machine non-stop.
Sure.
And also know my look as well. I'll sleep with a girl and she'll get pregnant with quadruplets. No joke. She'll have like 4 kids one time, and
that's what you're not asking for, not your push.
Listen, man, I can't do it, man. So I just know the worst thing will happen to me. The worst thing, whatever the worst option is, that will happen to me. So I wasn't on it. And my brother did the same thing. My best friend Sean, he did the same thing. A lot of us have done the similar thing, and we helped each other through those moments.
Good.
I'm not saying we didn't have moments where we're like, boy, that was a close call.
Yeah.
But I think we always had that guiding principle of like, we want to save this for the right time because it's worth saving.
Love it.
Like, my wife wasn't a virgin. Obviously, she had a child.
Yeah.
I didn't care about that.
Yeah.
But just for me to be able to be with her for the first time and her to get that from me, and she was celibate when we after we got together. So
there's something really amazing about sacred sex.
Yeah.
And something really safe about it as well. And I'm such an advocate for sacred sex that's done where God is pleased. Like, me and Owen weren't virgins when we got married, but there was a massive difference between sacred sex and then having sex with people that you're not married to.
Yeah.
And it's the feeling of God is best pleased. There's
100%.
no better feeling than that.
Well, God made marriage and he made sex.
Yeah.
And he made sex not just for procreation. He made it to be pleasurable, as a
Absolutely.
bonding experience, as intimacy with two people.
Yeah.
So the intimacy that you create with sex, when it's in marriage, it's different because you know that that's your person.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that, this performance may lead to never seeing her again.
Yes.
If, whatever happens, when I wake up, you'll still be there.
Yeah.
I know you love me. And whether you had a great time or wasn't as great, it doesn't, like, you're my person. I think that it provides a safe place. It provides security. And I think for a woman as well to know that this guy, I'm here for the full ride, man.
Yeah.
Whatever happens. So her giving herself to you isn't like a fearful moment. It's like, this is yours for you, and you're mine for me. And as much as we want to discount, like, sex has been turned into this real sort of just do whenever you feel like it with anybody.
Yeah.
And the reality is, like, it is a bonding of two people when you do it.
100%.
You bond with the person chemically,
Spiritually,
physically, spiritually.
all
You bond with the
sorts,
person.
yeah.
And it's like, there's no undoing that bond. Like, obviously, you can pray over things, right? But once you've done it,
That soul
that's it.
tie.
The soul is there.
100%.
So I think you have to be really, really careful, because the more you get into that kind of lifestyle, the more desensitized you get to it, and the less value you place on sex. Like, I still have a massive value on sex.
Absolutely.
Because it's something that I've only reserved for my wife.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not just putting it out there. My wife will know, like, when she gets with me, that I haven't been out and about doing madness.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great thing to have to be with the person you're with and know that I'm not worried about, like. So I love these court shows on TV. I love divorce court, marriage court, paternity court. I can't imagine what it must feel like to have a DNA test for your kid. Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just knowing, my brother had a baby the other day. His wife had a baby the other day. He hasn't got to think for a second.
Absolutely.
And I know it sounds silly, but just
The safety in that,
yes,
right?
that's my kid.
Yeah.
I never have to have a DNA test. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
She's my woman. I'm her man. I'm not going anywhere. She's not going anywhere.
Love that. Talk to me a little bit about Premier Gospel and how you land that, and what journey you took to have an opportunity to host a weekly show on such an amazing platform.
So, it starts age like 6 or 7. Funny enough, me and my brother would record radio shows on a mic with a dictaphone on it.
Yeah.
Record radio shows, that's what we did. So we did that as kids. And then in the early 2000s, like 2009, 10, that kind of era, we had a request from an American radio station to do a show featuring music from the UK to an American audience.
Oh, cool.
So we started a show called UK Fire, that's what it's called, on Bonafide Radio. So we did that show, and it was great. We had no idea what we were doing, just
winging it
completely.
Yeah.
My brother is such a studious guy.
Yeah.
He will learn anything. If you buy something, he's the guy you give the manual to.
Right.
He'll read every page and he'll master it.
No way.
I'm the guy who'll get it to work, but never know how to do this specific. I just like, it works. It turns on. It turns off.
Great, let's go.
That's it. So he sat down. He planned out all the shows. I'm more the personality guy. He's more of the stable guy. So
Your brother the producer, would you say?
yeah, he was doing that. He was producing it at that point. So I was just like on the mic talking. He would like put the songs together, that kind of thing. So then we did that, and then he went on tour as a musician. So he's touring now the world doing that. So we couldn't do it anymore. But then we got calls from Premier Gospel at different points. Can you come and do this show? And we did a couple of shows for them. And then last year, May, the station director called me. He's like, I've been thinking about asking you to come and do a show for us. Would you be open to doing it? I was like, why not?
Yeah.
Now, going back a little bit, I've always had the desire to be in broadcasting. Like,
okay.
I didn't want to just do TV for the sake of doing TV. I don't want to be a presenter.
Yeah.
I want to create content that means something to me and to the audience.
Right.
So, aspiring to be a presenter and broadcaster, I thought this is a good chance for me to hone the skills because I have a thing for talking really, really fast. I don't know if you picked up on it. I do it all the time. So, radio has forced me to slow down because they can't see me. Yeah. So, I have to be a bit more thoughtful in how I speak. So, I've got to get the message across. So, I've done that. And it's helped me over the last year to do that. But also, in doing that, I've also had loads of other opportunities from that to do more presenting. And
I saw you on TBN the other day. So, where do you want your broadcasting journey to go? Like, what's the goal?
So, like, I just got a passion for creating content that will change lives. Okay. I think my life experience has taught me that there's so many people who don't recognize they're losing time by just doing nothing. So, there's a guy who really inspires me called Les Brown. He had a TV show back in the 80s on PBS in America. He's like an hour special where he just talks about the things you can do to make your life better. Right. And that blew my mind when I watched it for the first time because I'd never seen a TV show where it was about the person improving themselves. Wow. So whether it's
not foolishness.
Literally just like, if you want to grow in this area of your life, here's what you can do. And so since that's something that I'm passionate about, I would love to have some kind of TV content show or whatever it is that shows people the journey of other people who've done things that they want to do, but also show them like, that teaches them about the things that I can do today, right now, in my house, by myself, to improve my life. Because I think we look at like our lives as, to change it's so difficult. Yeah. But it just takes one decision on one day and everything changes. So my passion in broadcasting will be more so to create content that improves people's lives, gives them access to information they would never normally get access to. Yeah. And inspires them to live better now. Nice. Because you are living through the opportunity of a lifetime.
What would you say is next for Adam?
Well, the next thing I think I really want to push on is to be the best version of me. Okay. So throughout the last few years, I've been passionate about doing like my events, Level Up and that kind of stuff. But I've never had a consistent run at it. And I think I said to you before, when I'm doing a project for somebody else, I am a monster. Yeah. Literally
from start to finish.
Listen, man. Yeah. I'll go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and carry on working. As in hours, and I'll keep on going to get the thing done. When it comes to Adam Brooks on it or Level Up, it's like, I haven't got time for that. And so my focus now is to go into the next year with a focus on my things that I need to do for myself.
Do you put yourself last?
Always. I feel like I do. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I do. And I feel like part of that is because maybe I don't always value myself as much as I should. Right. Because when I do things with other people, they're like, you do this so well. And I'm like, do I? But when I'm doing it and executing, I'm a master. But it's like when it comes to doing it for myself, I can honestly say that I've never put 100% into my own things. Wow. And I think part of that is the fear of failure. Okay. So if you fail at something you haven't tried your best at, I can always use that 10% that I didn't do as the reason why it didn't work. So, if I'd put more time into it, it would have been better. So the failure isn't my fault, it's the lack of time. But there's that fear of, if I do put my all into it and put my heart into it and put my passion into it and it fails, then I'm a failure. Right. And I think there's a fear of that. So I think confronting that version of myself this year and looking at it and trying to become, what's the word, like almost failure proof. I think I talk about it all the time. Like failure is just a moment in time. You can never be a failure. Like if you don't do something right, you take the lesson from it and you put that into action and you don't make the same mistake again. I know that. Take that out, man. But when I do it, it's like
doing it.
Yeah. Because I put myself under so much pressure to do the thing perfect. Yeah. So this year, what's next for me is really to push myself to be the best version of Adam that I can be. And whatever that is, if it's broadcasting, whether it's being a dad, whether it's being a brother, whatever I'm doing, in every area, I want to be the best version of myself. I want to bring the best version of me to everything I do. Yeah. And yeah, that's. I just hope I can do it.
So I always ask my guests to leave the audience with one nugget. What would be your nugget from today's discussion?
I'll say that you're one decision away from changing your life. The word decide comes from the Latin root word, which means, I think the word's carrera, which means to kill. Right. So decide, homicide, to kill a person, pesticide, to kill a pest, genocide, to kill a generation of people, suicide, to kill oneself, right? All those things, side means to kill. When you make a decision about something in your life, the only way it becomes a decision is if you kill every other option other than the one thing you've chosen.
Right.
So you've got to decide that I'm only going to do this one thing, no matter what happens, no matter if it doesn't work out. And a little story about that is the guys who would go to take over a country, right? They go on their boats, land on the ground, and try and take over the country. And when they saw the savages, they'd run back to the boats and run away. The generals said, we can't have this. So what did they do? They burnt their boats, so there's nowhere to run. Right. So they had to stand and fight. And I say it to say that if you want to change your life, the first thing you got to do is make a decision about what you want from your life. I got to decide that regardless of what happens to me, if I fail, if people laugh at me, whatever happens, I'm going to do the work to be this. Like I'm going to make a very clear decision on the thing I want to become. And then I'm going to start working on one thing I can do every day to make it happen. Yeah. And I think it's important in all of that to find purpose. In fact, I say that the nugget would be to find your purpose. Yeah. That's what my nugget would be. Because without purpose, what you are is you're someone who's living their life at the expense of whatever happens around you. So I can be pulled from one direction to the next depending on what's happening around me. If you're living on purpose, your life will be very clear. You will not be pulled in different directions by different people, because you'll know if it doesn't fall in line with my purpose, I'm not doing it. Right. So in terms of finding your purpose, one of the things that I think we all do as humans, we put it on this massive esoterical level of it's a major thing. We've got to go to the mountains of Tibet with the monks and sit there and chant for 30 days and then find out what it is. It's not that. Your purpose can be simply to make someone smile in a day. Like you can be working in co-op behind the counter and you talk to the person that's come to buy the food. Yeah. And it's like your purpose is being fulfilled in that moment, just talking to somebody and noticing somebody. And it doesn't feel like a big thing. But that can be it. It can be that you go to an old people's home and play the guitar and sing songs with them and make their life better. So it doesn't have to be changing the world. It can just be changing one person's life in a moment. Amen. But whatever it is, you'll find yourself naturally doing it in your day-to-day anyway. Your purpose my purpose isn't going to be teaching ballet. It's not going to be that. I know that for a fact, right? My purpose will be encouraging people. Yeah. I do it every time I talk to somebody. I'm trying to encourage them, whether I want to or not. Whether I feel encouraging myself, I'm doing it. That's the goal. I know my purpose is that. And I think if you find your purpose and you live in your purpose, I'm telling you, the fulfillment you get out of life is second to none. Different. It hits differently when you're living on purpose. And also, like, the idea of fulfillment means that you're not going to be searching for fulfillment in other areas of your life. Yes. So I don't need drugs. I don't need rampant sex with random women. Yeah. I don't need. Not that I would mind it in the future. I'm joking. You don't need drugs, alcohol, partying. Those things are in balance are cool. But you'll find someone who lives on purpose. Their life is balanced. Right. Because they're not trying to validate something else in another area. So I would say the nuggets is first, make a decision about what you want from your life and then do what you need to do to make it happen. But also find your purpose and understand what you're here for. When you find your purpose, your life will change for the better and it will change the people around you too.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much for impacting my life, Om's life, in multitude of ways, and for blessing the listeners. You're such a blessing. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man.